Hey everybody, this is Chris with Offset. Today I'd like to talk about changes to the tier list that we've previously published. These changes are the result of patches and hotfixes that have altered the mechanics of the game. The first change I'd like to talk about is the suppressor. So the suppressor is now an awful lot better. Previously it said that the suppressor was only going to be usable on sniper rifles. Well, that is no longer the case. The range penalty for using a suppressor has been reduced on all the weapons except light machine guns. So the suppressor is still garbage on light machine guns, but is now very much viable on assault rifles, submachine guns, shotguns, or even pistols. Moving on to weapons, we've had a couple of changes to the assault rifles since we published that tier list. The first and most dramatic change is going to be to the HVK. So the biggest problem we had with the HVK before was that the recoil made it very, very difficult to use. Well, they have gone and reduced that recoil, made it much easier to control, which means the HVK is no longer going to be a tier 3 weapon, and it is very easily in tier 2. Additionally, they have slightly nerfed the hipfire of the XR2. That isn't going to be a big enough change to change its tier, but it is worth mentioning. And the M8A7 has gone through a lot of changes. It had its fire rate increased for a moment, and now it's had its fire rate reduced again. It's still going to be in the same place, but I thought that would be worth mentioning. The most changes we've seen are going to be in the score streaks. The score streaks of the last couple of weeks have undergone massive changes, which have dramatically changed where we had things ranked in the tier list. The first change is going to be to the HCXD. It now does a lot more damage, and most importantly, it can now kill a player through flak jacket if you get close enough. This does make it quite a bit better, though it can still be shot pretty quickly and you're still vulnerable while using it, but it does make it good enough to move up into tier 3. It's also worth noting that a lot of the pro players in tournaments have been using the HCXD for scouting, which can be really useful in search and destroy or other competitive modes. The next change is going to be to the dart. The dart now locks onto enemy players and does slightly more damage. This means that it's much easier to hit people with the missiles it shoots, and you can kill players through flak jacket. This change isn't enough to move it up out of tier 3, so it's going to stay there, but it does make the dart a little bit more useful. However, you're still vulnerable through it, and the dart can be shot down, so it's not going to be that much better. The most massive change is probably to Rolling Thunder. So Rolling Thunder we had in tier 4 because it rarely got kills, people sought cover easily, and it just didn't have much effectiveness in the game. Well, that has completely changed. Rolling Thunder now covers the whole map. It has more waves of drones, it does more damage, and most importantly, it does damage to enemies inside of buildings. This makes it way more effective. In fact, it makes it to be one of the more effective lethal score streaks in the game. So it has gone from tier 4 and moved all the way up into tier 2, as it is really, really effective, particularly in objective modes. A similar change happened to Lightning Strike. The issue we had with Lightning Strike before was that it took too long to call down, so enemies had a lot of time to go and seek cover and get out of the way. Well, that's no longer the case. The Lightning Strike now comes in much, much, much quicker, feels far more similar to previous games like Black Ops 2, and you will get an awful lot of kills with this. It is now on par or even slightly better than the Hellstorm, so it has moved up into tier 1. The Hellstorm also had a small change. It does slightly more damage now. However, with the Lightning Strike and Rolling Thunder being as good as they are, I feel like the Hellstorm is relatively worse. It's no longer as good as it was because there are better options. So the Hellstorm has moved from tier 1 down into tier 2. Now, there were no other major changes to the score streaks, but there were a couple worth noting. The Cerberus, the Raps, the Mothership, and the GI unit are now harder to destroy. They take more missiles, more imp grenades, so they're going to stay alive longer, which does make them ever so slightly better, but not nearly enough better to move in a tier. As well, the UAV and the counter UAV take more bullets to kill. They'll still go down in one missile, but they take more bullets to kill from your light machine guns or your assault rifles, which does make them slightly better, but they were already tier 1, so they're not going to be able to move up anymore. Now, just to recap the major changes to our previous tier list, the HVK has moved from tier 3 up to tier 2. The HCXD has moved from tier 4 up to tier 3. Rolling Thunder has moved from tier 4 all the way up to tier 2. The Lightning Strike has moved from tier 2 up to tier 1. And the Hellstorm has moved down from tier 1 to tier 2. And that's it for the changes now. We'll make sure to keep you updated as further changes happen. This has been Chris with Offset, and we'll see you next time.